All right. Hey everybody, are we live? We are live. We are live. This is the fish tank. I've never done this before. This is, I guess you could consider this another mundane task, like cleaning the cat box or going grocery shopping. So you can watch the entire process right before your eyes, live, right here on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching this, okay? So here we go. This is a gigantic 75-gallon aquarium. I'm going to show you every step. First, you want to have a lot of lights on. You cannot have too much light. All right, so we're going to put all the lights on. And step one is going to be this light. I put the light on the brightest setting so I can see what I'm doing, okay? But I need to take the light off just for a moment. Just for a moment. Okay. And you're going to have to bear with me for a moment. I'll be right back. I have to get a couple of cleaning supplies, okay? All right, hang in there. You still with me? I'll have the light back in just a moment. I know this video is not going to be any fun to watch with no light at all. All right. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the these covers off of the top, okay? Okay, so we got that squared away. Go ahead and take the other cover off as well. You gotta be very careful when you're dealing with this glass because it is all glass. Glass aquarium lid, just your bare bones pieces of glass. Okay, now, so we can see what we're doing, we're going to put our light back on. There's no lid, so the only thing, this light is basically just sitting here right on top of the aquarium with no lid. Now, the first thing you want to do when you're cleaning your aquarium, step one, before you start reaching in the tank, first I'm going to take my watch off, and then you want to wash your hands. So give me a moment, watch the fish. I'm going to go wash my hands. Hot water and soap, everybody. Hot water and soap. Okay? And wash all the way up to your elbows. If you have a deep tank like I do, you're going to be reaching way down in there. Which we are. Okay? Man, this is exciting. I'm just, you know, I wish I could read your comments while I'm doing this, but I'm going to have so much going on. All right, so now what we need to do, step number one is get those plants out. Now, aquarium plants, especially if you've had them for a little while, are notorious for coming apart. So you got to just kind of lift them really carefully, okay? I am going to, so you make sure these fish realize that you are not food so they don't try and bite you. So I'm going to put, you know what I'm going to do? Hang on, let me get some clean, the bottom of that bucket's a little dirty, so I'm going to get some paper towels. All right, remember folks, this is a Facebook Live video. It's going to take some time. And it's more about the journey than the destination. So we're just having a good time here, hanging out. Feel free to leave your comments, questions if you're thinking about getting an aquarium and you need some tips on how to go about doing it. Where do you start? What do you do? What kind of fish? All the typical questions you have. It's very relaxing. An aquarium is a very relaxing, soothing. Oh, there's the catfish. Okay, see, there's a catfish in there that I never see except when I clean the aquarium, because he's always hiding under stuff, and he was under the base of that plant. I don't know how he manages to squeeze under there, but anyway, so you'll notice that unlike typical aquariums, this aquarium does not have gravel in it, or sand, or any other kind of substrate. And there's a reason for that. There is definitely a reason. So it makes cleaning the aquarium, you can do a much more thorough job, because if you have gravel down there, see? Stupid aquarium plants are falling apart. I gotta be real careful with this. So this is a gravelless, substrateless aquarium. I had a little plant come off here. These plants are notorious for falling apart, man. I tell you, I need to go through here and re-silicone everything so these plants don't keep coming apart. I just have 2 more plants to go. So like I said, I do not have substrate. I do not have gravel down here. If you've ever had an aquarium before with gravel, then you know that you have to sort of use your siphoning hose to clean that gravel. And it's kind of a pain in the butt, and you never really get all the gravel squeaky, squeaky clean. And I like squeaky, squeaky clean. So, and these pots here, these are just super cheapo clay pots that you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's or any of your garden nursery stores. They are awesome little hiding spots for your fish. The fish love them. They absolutely love them. They're dirt cheap. If you accidentally break one, it's not the end of the world. All right, but now here's the thing. Here's the challenge. So, I don't have substrate. I don't have gravel. But what do I have? I have these giant flat stones in there. They're real. They're real stones. They are solid. They are rock. So the deal with those is I have to take them out every time I clean the tank. I have to take each rock out. And you have to be extremely careful when you're reaching down for them that you do not drop them, because this is an all glass aquarium. And that means that the bottom of the aquarium is glass. So if you drop just one of these rocks, your aquarium is done. You will have a huge mess. You will have broken glass everywhere. That's the price I pay for choosing to have these rocks down here and not gravel. But you'll see, once I get all these rocks out, you're going to see all the leftover uneaten food and fish poo. And then I basically just come with my my siphoning tube and suck every single bit of it out. Oh, one thing too I forgot to mention. When you're cleaning an aquarium, if you have tropical fish like I do, and there is an aquarium heater, you want to unplug that when you're removing water, because that heater will get so hot and burst if it's not completely surrounded by water. So that's always the first thing I do, and then when I'm done cleaning the aquarium, I plug the heater back in after it's filled back up, okay? And you want to have on hand, before you even start this, you want to have your water conditioner. Here's mine right here. I use this by this company called Prime. It's good stuff. You use very little of this stuff. A bottle of this can last a real long time. So that you put that in your tank right before you add your new water, and it instantly conditions it and makes it safe for the fish. It removes the chlorine and any other chemicals that might be harmful. So I'm still in the process of removing the rocks. Nice and slow, nice and careful. Because like I said, if I drop even one of these small ones here, a real good chance it hits the bottom, that glass bottom, your aquarium is done. Another one of the most important tips of advice I can offer for you for when you clean your tank is, especially, don't leave your tank unattended when you're siphoning water out or refilling it with water. Obviously, if you leave your tank unattended when you're refilling it, you will have a flood. It's not happened to me yet. Don't think that it will, because I wouldn't. Once you start a project like this, you kind of have to stick around and finish it. In case you were wondering about the fish in here, I have quite a variety, a mixture. In the fish keeper's world, this is a no-no, but I have African cichlids mixed with South American cichlids. And according to any expert fish keeper, you're not supposed to do that. They come from, the types of water that they come from are very different. But everybody's been getting along, everybody's healthy. We have a nice balance right now. Nobody's eating anybody. Everybody's actually doing fantastic. So, a couple of the, I guess mainly, and I have some river fish, some bluegill that I caught myself. There's I think 4 in there, 4 bluegill. There's one of them right there, the real dark, big fish. There's a couple of them right there. And then there's Oscars. There's 2 Oscars. Those are my favorite fish in the tank. That's basically why I got a 75-gallon tank, because I wanted Oscars. Oscars are what I would call my, what do they call it when there's a shopping center and there's one store, the anchor store. So the Oscars are my anchor fish. They're the whole reason for the aquarium, because I love Oscars. I raised them as a kid. And if you're just getting started with fish and you want big fish, first of all, get a big aquarium. Can't emphasize that enough. A lot of people say, hey, you get a big fish, you get a fish that grows big and you just keep him in a small aquarium, he'll only get as big as the aquarium. He won't outgrow the aquarium. Well, that is completely untrue. And the 1 gallon per fish is also untrue. There's a bunch of really good YouTube videos out there. I got a lot of tips from this page, this YouTube page called, I think it's called KG Tropicals. And there's a few really good. You can learn so much by watching YouTube videos. As you probably know, you can learn so much about anything and everything by watching YouTube videos. So do your research. But what I was saying about Oscars is they are a hard to kill fish. It's like people who are thinking about raising plants. Well, I want something that, I'm not good with plants, so I want a plant that requires minimum maintenance, something that's impossible to kill. Well, obviously it's not impossible to kill an Oscar, but they are just very hardy fish, and they can put up with a lot of water parameters and conditions and hardness, and they have tremendously wonderful appetites. So, just going to kind of show you the steps, the process of doing this. The last rock, ladies and gentlemen. This is exciting now. The next thing I'm going to do, we got all the rocks out, and you can see all those bits of food particles and poop. I think it's mainly uneaten food particles, and I do this once a week. Once a week. It's probably could get away with doing it twice a week, but I'm sorry, once every other week. But I just like to stay on top of it, and you know, no fish is going to complain that their water is too clean, you know. Of course, you have to clean your tank in a way that preserves the helpful good bacteria that's in there. And okay, so what I'm going to do now, step one, I feel like there's something else I forgot to take out and do. This is a great opportunity for you to do a head count on your fish. I think we have like 21 or 23 fish total. I don't know. But they're all there. They're all visible. There's a frontosa. There's a bumblebee cichlid, a giraffe cichlid. There are silver dollars and Oscars. Now the silver dollars and the Oscars, you can see which ones are the silver dollars, obviously. They are both South American cichlids, and they get along great. When you look up best fish to keep with Oscars, silver dollars are the #1 best tank mates for Oscars. And then all the other ones are African cichlids, except for the, how many river fish do I have in there? I think I have 3 or 4 river fish. Those are bluegill, and those are sort of cold water fish, but they do well in the warmer water. Everybody's doing just fine. So I've got a mixture of South American cichlids, African cichlids, and 3 or 4 river fish that I just caught when I went fishing one time. All right, so now, giving the tank a little time to settle down, let the all the floating particles of leftover food and all that settle. So if you're going to excuse me, you go ahead and watch the fish for a minute. I got to set up the hose. And the hose is what we're going to have going from the inside of the tank all the way to outside, to the very front of the front yard. And that's the water, the old water is going to drain there. Or it can drain it into my flower pots. And that's very helpful, beneficial bacteria for your plants. So bear with me, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. And when you run your hose, you want to make sure you don't have any kinks in it, no pinches or anything like that. Right now, we're going to need something to hold this hose in place while we go out there and we start the siphoning, the suction. So I'm going to put one of these glass covers right back on here. Alright. Get that hose all the way down in there. Alright, now I'm going to go out and start the suction. In just a moment, I'll be right back. All right, we have suction, ladies and gentlemen. We have suction. I'm going to close this door just so you don't have such a heavy glare. Okay, so now this hose is now in suction mode, and it is sucking, sucking, sucking. So you want to take advantage of that and hold it over all the uneaten food. I don't know how well, if you can see that from where the camera's positioned, but it is just sucking like a vacuum, sucking up all this uneaten food, uneaten rotten food, and poo. It's a lot of work, but it's a labor of love, you know. I love my fish. I want them to be happy and healthy. There's a big, now if you look away, I don't know if you can see it from, but there's a lot of uneaten food particles over here. Uh-oh. So you don't want the water agitated or stirred up because you want all that food to settle. You know, my hose is not quite long enough. I'm having a little bit of a problem. Let me pull some more slack in here, guys. Give me just a moment. I need a little more slack in my hose. There we go. Okay. You want to be able to reach every little nook and cranny and crevice in this fish tank. And you want to make sure your hands are super clean too, because oils and bacteria and dirt and crap from your hands, you don't want them getting in there mixing with the chemistry of the water. Move, fish. Sometimes a fish will just swim right around you and not even care what you're doing, and they'll be in your way a little bit and you can't see where you're suctioning, so you just got to kind of be careful about them and work around them as best you can. This is it. This is my weekly task. And honest to goodness, I'm probably going a little bit slower because I'm filming everything and explaining everything, but this takes less than 30 minutes a week. It's not that big of a sacrifice of my time. And, you know, when you think you got it all, you have to, I usually take out about 25% of my tank water once a week. And you just keep suctioning. And just when you think you've got it all, go back and do another round. And you'll find little sections of poo and uneaten food. And you can, as you can probably see and notice here, the water level is going down as it's supposed to, slowly but surely. That's why you don't want to set this hose in here and walk away and forget about it, because it'll suck all the water out of your tank eventually, and then your fish will suffer. And the fish are kind of used to this. They don't get super freaked out by this. I mean, they'll swim away a little bit, but they're not like in complete panic stress mode. They know that I do this every week, so they're kind of used to it. I think they don't feel threatened by the hose. They know I don't mean them any harm. I'm just sort of doing my thing, and they're doing their thing, and we're just trying not to interfere with each other. So usually I know I've reached the point where I'm ready to stop. Once I hear the water coming out of the pump filter over here, there's a canister, Fluval FX6 is the type of canister, and once the outtake is exposed to the air and you can hear it kind of gushing water, you'll know that you've taken enough water out of your tank and you can go ahead and stop suctioning. Now, what are we going to do before we put water in there? Well, what we're going to do before we put water in here is we're going to put all our rocks and plants back. And the reason you want to do that before is because if you put your water in first, then you put all your plants and rocks in, well, guess what? You're adding a lot of volume into that water, and that's going to create displacement, and you're going to have way too much water in there, and the water's going to come up over the sides of your tank. Plus, every time you reach your hand and arm down there, that's going to push water out. So while the water's level is low, that is when you want to put your plants and rocks back in there, okay? And you're getting rid of it. Now, it looks like, you may think, well, you're not getting any more uneaten food or poop out of there. The bottom of the tank looks pretty good. Why are you still suctioning water out? Because there's going to be invisible nitrates and ammonia and stuff in the water. So the more you take out and then you replace with fresh, good, clean water, the better. You don't want to do too much water, though, because there's some healthy bacteria in there that need to continue to live and thrive. We're just about ready, though. I'm going to go ahead and stop it now. And how do you do that? You just simply lift one end of the hose out of the water. If you'll excuse me, go ahead and watch the fish. I'm going to go ahead and get this hose out of the way so we can proceed on with our next step. Okay, there you go. We have taken all the water out of the tank that we're going to take out. Now it's just a simple matter. Well, I'm actually going to clean the sides too. Give me just a moment. Alright, so I don't know if you can see, it looks like there's some smears on the inside of the tank. That is just a buildup of algae, and that is real simple to remove. So you need one of these guys right here. And I just go around and I actually probably should have done this before I started siphoning the old water out, but that's all right. This is a very small amount of algae, and it will mix into the water. And some algae holds helpful bacteria, so some of it in your water isn't really that bad for your fish. Algae is a naturally occurring thing. Don't just scrape the algae that you can see. Just go up and down the whole glass, because there's some that starts to build up that you can't see, and you don't want to fill your tank back up with nice clean water and notice that you missed a spot or something. So just go ahead and run your brush up and down every little part of your glass. Doesn't take that long. It's easy to do. Important thing you don't want to forget too is when you're done with your aquarium, plug that heater back in. If you have tropical fish that need the water temperature between 75 and 80 degrees and they don't have a heater, oh man, you're going to be in trouble. So don't forget. I forget. I sometimes forget. I'll look and I'll see hours after I'm done cleaning, or even a day later, I'll be like, oh my God, I didn't plug my heater back in, I forgot. But then I go and check the temperature real quick and it's usually okay. But if it's like the dead of winter or something and they need that warm water. All right, so there you go. Now, we're going to go ahead and work on putting our rocks back in, and then our flower pots, and then our plants, in that order, okay? All right. So, you know, there's no way I'm going to be able to get these rocks back in here in the exact way that they were when I took them out. So, that's kind of a neat treat for the fish because they get a slightly different variation of how the rocks are placed. So they get to find new hiding spots and claim new territories. Fish are all about territories, dominance, that kind of thing, you know. But you have to be just as careful, even more careful, because now you're setting the rocks down on glass, on a glass bottom aquarium. Set it down ever so gently, because you do not want to bump that bottom glass with a huge piece of rock. You absolutely, that's the last thing you want to do. So you set those stones back down in there very gently. My dad had actually suggested that I get a piece of plexiglass and cut it to the same dimensions as the bottom of the tank and lay that down on the bottom of the tank. That way, I'm going to get this catfish out of here. He's going to get squished. Go on, get out of here, catfish. Get out of here. Okay. Those catfish, boy, they love cracks and crevices. That's where they spend all their time. Cracks and crevices. There's no rush on this. You take your time and you do it right, you know? Cleanliness is super important when you're dealing, because, you know, this is a contained biosphere. You have it contained in a tank, so it's not like out in the wild where stuff just breaks down. It's just all kept in this giant glass tank. And that's why you have to go in there and clean it out, because you are their only hope for having clean water. The fish aren't smart enough to realize that you're helping them, but you are indeed helping them, benefiting them tremendously. Whew. All right. All the fish are looking good though. Everybody's very active and moving and healthy, and no fish look like they're in distress or stressed out or sick. Nobody has ick. I've been extremely fortunate with this tank, but I think a huge part of that is just staying on top of tank maintenance and cleaning. This is, you know, I'll tell you this, it's one of the, if you compare fish to dogs and cats, it's way easier. The cleaning and maintenance and cost is way better. But a fish is not a set it and forget it kind of pet. You've got to be on top of them. You've got to make sure that their tanks are clean. That doesn't quite fit in there. You've got to make sure that you're feeding them regularly, you're feeding them enough, and more importantly, you're not feeding them too much. That is something that all too often happens in the fish keeping hobby. People walk by their fish tank and they see their fish and they're thinking, oh look, they swim right up to me. They must want me to feed them. I feed my fish once a day. I might give them a little treat afterwards. See, this catfish is following me around because he knows I'm going to set this rock down. He wants to go under it. But you stay on top of it. These bigger rocks you got to be especially careful with and set them down ever so gently. Okay, we only have 3 rocks left, gang. We're almost done. Then we just got to put the the flower pots back in, and the plants, and guess what? We're done. And it's just a simple matter of filling that tank back up, putting the water treatment in there, and filling that tank back up. Okay? Okay. There we go. See? And the rocks are back in there. They're a little bit different. They're placed in a little bit different fashion than they were before. Go ahead and put these flower pots back in here. Let me close this door so you can see better, because I know that sunlight is creating quite a glare. And you know, if you watch some videos, you'll see some people break their flower pots and just put like half of them in there. But you don't need to do that. It looks a little, I just think it looks a little nicer if you have your whole flower pot in there. So just be careful though. If you have something like a catfish in here who likes to go under rocks, you've got to be super careful when you're moving rocks around that you don't squish him. I see my catfish. He's actually right here in front, right there. I can't even remember what kind of catfish he's called right now. Okay, so there you go. Look at that. The water looks good, and when we add our fresh, clean water, it's going to look even more crystal clear. All right, so now go ahead and put your plants back in there. All right, and you can just stick these wherever you think they look good. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Just wherever you think they look nice. Some of the smaller fish like to kind of hide in there, so that's fun for them, I guess. Huh, okay. All right, just got a couple more to put in there. I had Oscars all the time growing up as a teenager and as a preteen. I probably wasn't ready for them back then. I didn't take as good care of them as I should have. Certainly did not account for how big they get because I did not have a tank that was big enough. But I do now. I mean, this is pushing it. This is a 75-gallon tank. And honestly, if you're going to have 2 Oscars, most people recommend you get at least 150, 125-gallon tank. But that's 6 feet long. And I think they're going to be just fine as long as you're on top of cleaning and maintenance. All right, so that's basically it. So now we're going to work on filling the tank back up. We're not going to be using the garden hose for that. I have a special hose. And the reason for that is because I need a special hose that can hook up to my sink. Because you don't want to just put cold hose water in there. Because that water is going to be way too cold. It's coming right from the faucet outside, from the spigot, too cold. That can put your fish into a state of shock. So I have a special hose that attaches directly to your sink so you can control the temperature. All right, so there you go. Fish tank's all set back up. All we have to do now But remember, right before we turn on that water, we got to put our water conditioner in there. Concentrated conditioner for marine and fresh water. So have that close by. Now, let me go get that other hose. You guys can just watch the fish if you want. I'm going to attach one end of this hose to my sink. Okay. So one end is attached to the sink, and the other end, you just run that down your hallway. Make sure, you know, there's no holes or anything in your hose. This is called a Python. A Python siphoning tank cleaning hose. You can order these on Amazon. Alright. So everything's positioned where it needs to be. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and just put not quite a capful of this water conditioner. A little bit less than half of a capful. Then I'm going to go turn the water on really quick. So this stuff smells awful. This water conditioner smells terrible. This, all right. Okay, there we go. We got enough. Boom. All right, the water conditioner is in. Now, you don't want to put water conditioner in and not add new water right away. So I'm going to go turn the water on. And here we go. It should be, and it is, filling up. There we go. Now, this is the important part I was telling you about. You don't want to walk away. I'll have a seat over here and narrate a little bit, but you don't want to go start another project. You don't want to do anything that's going to take you away from that tank, or do anything that will make you forget about, because it's a slow process filling the water back up. But it's something you don't want to walk away from. Because the moment that water is full enough, you need to turn that water off, or you're looking at a flooded house. You see that water that's going in there right now? Crystal clear. It has chlorine in it, but because I put that chemical in there, it's immediately neutralizing it. It's immediately neutralizing it. It's like instantly ready for your fish. And that's pretty much it. And I won't feed them again. I'll probably give them a little snack tonight. I feed them once a day in the morning. As soon as I wake up, I give them like 5 big pinches of food. Because, you know, let's face it, there's a lot of fish, and they're big fish. They have big tummies. I give them 5 pinches of food, and then in the evening, I'll probably go over there and I'll put 1 or 2 little pinches in, just as a sort of a midnight snack treat kind of thing. But that's it. That is a 75 gallon aquarium. If you have one, you've got to get a solidly built, solid wood fish aquarium stand. That's an important thing to look for. When you're going to look for aquarium stands, you know, get something made out of wrought iron or solid wood. You definitely don't want to use that particle board stuff, or that compressed sawdust kind of wood. It's got to be strong. That's 75 gallons, weighs, I don't know, I think I figured it out one time. It was like 600 pounds or something like that. It's super heavy. So you want to put it in a very, our house happens to be built on a slab, so we don't really have to worry about, you know, the floor being strong enough. But if you're on like a second floor or an apartment, or you live on, your house is raised up a little bit, you definitely want to check your support to make sure it can hold that much weight 24/7. That's a lot of weight. You would not want your floor to cave in. Aren't those silver dollars pretty? Look at those. They're right up front there by that plant. There's 4 of those in there. There's 4 silver dollars. There's 2 Oscars. There appears to be 3 bluegill riverfish. There's 1 giraffe cichlid. There's 1 bumblebee cichlid. That's the bumblebee cichlid. That's the giraffe cichlid. Those fish have gotten tremendously large since we got them. Even the Oscars have grown quite a bit indeed. And then there's the frontosa. That is a beautiful fish. If you can, Google image search the frontosa. When they're full grown, they're super blue. They've got a cool looking like forehead that they develop when they get older. They grow slow though. The Oscars grow much faster. So the important thing too, if you're going to have a giant predatory fish, such as an Oscar, you want to make sure that the fish you keep with him are not small enough to fit in his mouth, because they will eat anything that can fit in their mouth. The only fish that stand a chance are fish that are as big as them, or fish that are extremely fast and can swim much faster than they can. That one there is a Tropheus. That one just sort of floating around there, that's Jen's favorite fish. That's one she picked out. And those other ones, there's Imbulas, and I really don't remember the name of the other, just various types of cichlids. This is an Imbula, that's an Imbula, and then I think his mate in there is also in there, is an Imbula. And I can't remember what the other fish are called. We're almost done here. We're almost done. We're almost here to where you can't see any air at all. Once the water level gets up into the black, that's when I shut the water off. So probably 60 seconds or less, I'll go shut that water off. And what do we need to remember, kids? Plug that heater back in. Matter of fact, I can do that right now while I'm thinking about it. I'll plug that heater back in. There we go. I'm going to keep that water around 80 degrees. Alright, so that's it. I'm going to go ahead and turn the water off. Get one end of this hose. So this is going to want to come out on its own. Alright, so we're basically done, folks. I'm just going to reposition the light and put the lids back on the right way. I'm going to take this hose outside and make sure, because it's full of water. You don't want that on your floor. Almost done. And that's it. That is my weekly tank cleaning. We got the heater plugged in. We've added the water conditioner. What I want to do is turn these. I turned them around so the heavier end can hold down the hoses. Now I'm flipping them back the normal way that they're supposed to go. And fish tank will add hours, days, months, and years of enjoyment to your life. So if you're thinking about getting one, don't think about it anymore. Just go and do it. Awesome. Now if we turn these surrounding lights out, then you can just see the magnificent beauty of the aquarium in all its splendor. And it's good to go for another week. And the water still has a lot of bubbles in it because it's all new water that will settle, and like by late tonight, crystal clear. I mean, it's already pretty crystal clear, but it's going to look even better tonight. So there it is. That's me cleaning my fish tank. I appreciate y'all hanging out. Please leave comments. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have or any criticisms that you have, all that good stuff, okay?